What's up guys? It's Meg and it's that time of the week again where we get to talk about the best show on television, AMC's The Walking Dead. Today we're talking about season 4 episode 13 called Alone. What did you guys think of the episode last night? I have so much to say that I don't even know how to say it all, how to make words for my feelings for the episode last night. Okay, before we get started, I am back. I am sorry it took so long that I responded to all of you guys' comments, but I am back and I'm trying desperately to catch up. I had a good vacation, thank you to those who asked. It was a little bit rainy where I went, but that was okay. I also, just a little announcement, have set up another channel for kind of everything in my life that is not Walking Dead related, which is not really a lot because I think The Walking Dead takes up like 90% of my life, but there are some other things that I've been kind of wanting to do videos on, and even just like regular days where I vlog something that I'm doing, and so rather than bombarding putting all of these videos on my Walking Dead channel, I decided, hey, I'm gonna make a separate channel, and those of you who like me enough to watch the other things that aren't Walking Dead related, that's awesome, and you can subscribe to it. And those of you who just want to see Walking Dead videos can stay right here, and I will be just as happy about that. The link is in the description to my new channel if you guys want to check it out. Okay, let's get started. Let me just admit for a minute, if you guys didn't know, yes, I am indeed a Daryl fan. Sorry, whatever, call me a Daryl fangirl, I don't care. I am a recently converted Bethel shipper. Yes, it was always Carol for a long time, but just seeing the interactions between Beth and Daryl, I am converted. So sorry if you guys don't want to hear any of that, or you don't like Daryl for whatever reason. I think you're crazy. But there were so many scenes and they were so good, and just to see how far Daryl has come, even just from the last episode, it was incredible. Sorry if you can hear this, my dog is rolling around all over the carpet and making tons of noise. Sorry. But anyways, let's get right to it. I'm going to talk about Daryl and Beth first, and then I will get to Sasha and Bob and Maggie in just a minute. So we start off the scenes with Daryl and Beth. They are in the woods, and Daryl is sort of teaching her how to track and hunt with the crossbow. And they come into the clearing, and she's doing pretty good, it appears. She even makes a comment that she doesn't even really need him anymore. Just a funny side comment, but I think by the time we see the end of the episode, it's pretty funny to see where they've come in an entire episode. Sorry, my dogs are playing right now and it's really distracting. Okay, I should just edit this out, but I probably won't. Oh my god, they're so funny. Okay, so they're tracking, and Beth sees a walker and she's kind of inching her way towards the walker, gonna shoot it, and her leg gets caught in a bear trap and she hurts her ankle, and it was just really weird that a random bear trap was out there. Now I know we've seen them before, but I just thought it was such a weird place, like right in a clearing. I guess if you were hunting regular animals, I guess it would make sense too, but it just seemed very oddly placed to me. Either way, whatever. She hurts her ankle and they are walking through a cemetery. Daryl gives her a piggyback ride. Yes, I squealed at that. And they come across a grave that says Beloved Father on it. And one of my other viewers asked me what I thought that meant, if there was a person that they knew there or something, and I don't believe it was grave for anyone that they knew. The thing that I think caught Beth's eye was the fact that it said Beloved Father on it, and she just stopped for a moment, and I think she needed a minute. She's remembering her father. He doesn't have a grave. He doesn't get to be memorialized like that. He doesn't get a traditional burial, and she's just having a moment, I think, of sadness. And what was great about this moment is that Daryl senses that, and rather than, in the past, Daryl has always been kind of whatever, you know, he walks away when things get emotional or anything. And instead, he picks flowers that are right there and he puts it on the grave kind of as a moment of comfort and respect. And he's also been in pain over Hershel's death too, so I think they both just took a minute to remember him, regardless of whose grave it was. But what was also great about this scene is that they held hands. And it wasn't so much that, oh my gosh, they're holding hands, which, okay, fine, let me say that for a minute. Oh my gosh, they're holding hands. But it was more the fact that Beth reached for him and he didn't pull away. He didn't wince at it. You remember in season 2 when Andrea nearly shoots Daryl in the head and Carol bends down and kisses him on the cheek and he winces away? He doesn't do that with Beth now. He just allows her to take his hand and they just hold hands as a moment of comfort for each other. And, you know, and I don't believe it was anything more than just friendship at this point. Anyways, they get into the funeral home and Daryl notices that it is like pristine clean. It is so clean. Everything looks in perfect shape, all organized. They go down into a room looking for a bandage for Beth's ankle, and they discovered actually upstairs a body in a casket, preserved. Of course, the flesh was pulled away. Daryl did that. I don't know why he did that. That was really gross. But the body was preserved there and so perfectly attended to. And then they go downstairs looking for bandages and they find 2 more bodies, dressed up in suits and laying there, also perfectly preserved. Like someone took the time to make these things look pretty. And Beth kind of comments on, it's beautiful. I was really creeped out by it. I thought, I feel as if this person is probably a crazy person that is in this funeral home. So I guess they don't really think that. I would just think it was so weird. Anyways, they go upstairs and they find food, and in the cupboards there's not a speck of dust, they say. And also I noticed that all of the food is like perfectly organized. It just looks very perfect. Like this person has like an OCD habit of cleaning excessively and setting things perfectly. Now, I know that you guys, quite a few of you, not all of you, but quite a few of you, and I've read it everywhere, think that the whole thing was a setup and a trap and people weren't really living there. And it's a setup for the hunters so that they can lure people there and then take them. I can't come to terms with that theory, and I hope it doesn't make any of you too upset with me, but I don't know that I agree with that. To me, I feel like the hunters would just, and maybe because I've read the comics, but they tend to just grab you when you're on your own. And I guess, you know, Beth getting taken out in the yard is kind of that same way, but it just seems like a lot of work to have all this stuff and set up this house and keep it clean and perfect. And then to bring in dead bodies and preserve them there, like that's what they do on their side job when they're not hunting and eating people. It just seems really off to me. Let me know if you haven't already told me what you guys think about that. Let me know what you think, whether or not you think it is the hunters or if you think it's something else, in the comments below. I don't know if I can really just come to terms with the fact that it's the hunters setting a trap. Like the whole thing was a trap. I just feel weird about it. Either way, let's continue with the Daryl and Beth. So they see all the food and they get interrupted before they can eat anything by some noise at the front door. Daryl has set up cans and he hears the cans move and there is a one-eyed scruffy looking dog out there, and it was just, I feel as if the dog perhaps lived there with the person and it was coming home, you know, and maybe it comes up and barks at the door and waits there for it to be let in. I mean, it just seems, unless the dog saw Daryl and Beth go in there and decided to come in, I don't know. It just seemed as if it was waiting there. Either way, maybe it wasn't. So the dog runs off and that's all they see of him. They go back and I guess I forgot about the scene where Daryl sleeps in the coffin and it's nighttime. Was that before the dog came? I can't remember. Either way, he says that the whole place is secure, that the front door is the only in and out. And Beth is playing and they have kind of another, they're not really having a moment, but I had a moment where Daryl lays down and asks Beth to keep playing the music. And it was almost like he liked listening to her sing. He liked hearing her voice, you know, it was comforting, something like that. I don't know, but just the fact that he asked her to keep singing was sweet to me. And it just showed that, you know, they are becoming friends, whether or not it's more than that, whatever. But that he just thought to encourage her and be like, it's okay, keep singing, you know. That he wanted to hear her sing. So I guess later the next night, or I don't know when it was, I'm forgetting the time frame here, but they're going to eat again, and they hear the noise and they hear the dog bark, and then they hear the dog kind of yike, I guess, but I don't know if Daryl caught that. And he leaves his crossbow and he goes and he just swings open the front door, because I guess he's thinking, he says, I'm gonna give that dog one more chance. So he swings open the door, and there are a ton of walkers standing right there. And they swarm in, and it is just chaos. Daryl tells Beth to run, that he's gonna meet her outside by the road. And he gets forced down into the room where the two bodies were being preserved, and he is like completely backed into a corner, and there are so many walkers, and I really was thinking, how in the hell is he gonna get himself out of this situation? And I guess being the badass that he is, he just somehow manages to take down the walkers, some of them, enough to squirm his way out and up the stairs. He gets outside and he's running, and he sees that Beth is taken and is being driven away in a car. But before that, let's backtrack for just a minute before we talk about Beth being kidnapped, and go back to the walkers at the door. Now, did any of you guys think it was really weird that they were just standing there? I don't know if the dog got eaten or what, or if the dog led them there. It was off to me, because they weren't like banging on the door to get in. They were just standing there like they were waiting for something. And this part of it, I believe, was the trap. My thought is perhaps the person who was living there came home, whatever, he was obviously not in the house, came back and saw that someone was in the house. I feel as if Daryl put up those cans, the rope with the cans for like the noisemaker to tell when the walkers were there, because it looked as if he was stringing them up himself. So maybe the person who lived in the house came back and saw those cans up and realized that someone was in there, and he somehow led the walkers there, or used the dog to lead the walkers up to the porch to draw Daryl and Beth out. You know, he doesn't know who's in there, but to draw them out. And I don't know. I don't know. And probably you guys are all going to be like, no, it's the hunters. You're crazy. It's not anyone else. I just feel weird about it. I feel weird seeing the preserved bodies, and that the hunters would come in and still preserve these bodies here and be currently taking care of the bodies and have everything be so perfect and clean and OCD clean. It's just weird to me. I feel as if it's probably a single person who came back and saw that his house was being invaded and freaked out or something. Maybe he's a psychopath. Maybe the hunters will just be one hunter and it's one person. I don't know. Again, let me know what you guys think about that. Either way, back to Beth getting kidnapped. Daryl runs outside and he sees her bag on the ground, and there is a car, and he looks up just as the car is driving away with Beth. Oh my gosh. It was just awful. Oh, I completely forgot. They're having a moment. They had another moment before, when they're eating there at the table. I cannot believe I forgot about this, because this was literally the best part of the show for me. Before they hear the dog, Beth says that she is writing a thank you note to the people for the food, and she is just, this whole past 2 episodes have been about her, there are still good people in the world, and her trying to convince Daryl of this. You know, he's always so negative, and she's been so positive in trying to convince him that there are still good people out there. He doesn't have to be this way all the time. And she says to him, so you do think there are good people in this world still? What changed your mind? And he just can't say it. And I was just freaking out, because you can tell that he cares for her in whatever aspect it is at this point. You know, he's obviously not in love with her or anything, but he cares for her and he sees in her that there are good people in this world. Like, she is a truly genuine good person with a good heart, and there is like literally not a bad bone in her body. And I feel as if, you know, he always said, Norman Reedus always said that he wanted to play Daryl as awkward as possible. And from Daryl's history, we know that he's probably never had a girlfriend before. He is just lived a shitty life in a cabin in the woods with his brother and his drunk dad, and he's always just followed his brother around and been, you know, drinking and getting high and just all of this stuff. And I feel as if he's never had these interactions with a girl before, so he doesn't. It's almost like in middle school when you don't want to admit that you have a crush on someone, and so you're like, you know, like you can't actually say it. That's what it reminded me of. Like, he didn't want to, or he couldn't get up the words to be like, it's you, you're the reason why I believe that there are good people in this world now. But Beth gets it, you know, she finally, after he wouldn't say it, she gets it, and they just are staring at each other, and I'm like, ah. And then the freaking dog and all the walkers. What did you guys think of their moment? If there are any viewers of my channel that are Bethel shippers, will you please let me know? I need some companions in this emotions that I'm feeling. Okay. Okay. So we see, sorry, I need a minute to recover. We see the car drive off with Beth, and Daryl just takes off running after it. And I mean, he runs and he tracks this car up until, I mean, it's the next day, so through the night, whatever time it was, until the next day. It's clearly daylight out, and he comes to the train tracks, and the road kind of goes off in two different directions, and he loses the tracks, and he realizes that he doesn't know which way she went. And it's so awful and sad because he's finally sort of opened up his heart a little bit, you know, to let someone in and have even a friend, you know, be close to someone. And she just gets ripped away so fast. And he has no idea what's happened to her, if he's ever going to find her, how he's going to find her. And he kind of he sits down in the road, and I think he's just having this emotional moment. And I honestly think, though, because then he is suddenly, you know, it goes off to Bob and Sasha's scenes, and it comes back to him sitting there, and all of a sudden he is surrounded by, like, 6 guys, 7 guys. I mean, the Marauders, at least I think they're the Marauders. They're the same guys from the house where Rick was staying, where Rick and Michonne and Carl were staying. So these bad guys, you know, it's them. And now we know Daryl, and yes, he let his guard down once when he let the walkers in the house. But he is just not the type of guy to not be aware of his surroundings. So I honestly think that he knew that there were these 6 or so guys coming. He either heard them or he knew, somehow he knew. And that's why he didn't get up right away and try and fight them off. Because I think he knew he was outnumbered ahead of time. And that's why he jumped up then and it kind of punched to hit this guy, Joe. He's, I think they're playing him as the main guy in this group of Marauders. And essentially, you know, some things happen, some words happen, but one of the guys mentions, I get his vest. You know, like they're just going to steal all his shit and kill him. So you can kind of see, once again, this is how these guys are. They just take whatever they want from whoever they want and kill people. Kill people, and it just doesn't matter to them. They're kind of like these, they think they're on top. But this guy Joe stops the guy, and he kind of sees something in Daryl that he likes, and maybe he sees what Daryl used to be. Either way, they don't kill Daryl. Daryl doesn't kill any of them, and Daryl essentially joins, I guess, their group. At this point, when I was watching the show, I actually thought that these Marauders were the guys who took Beth. And then in watching the show again, I watched it twice since, I am convinced that they did not take Beth. It is someone else, whether it's the Hunters, like some of you believe, or, you know, I've heard that it could be Father Gabriel that took her, or whatever. Whoever it is, I think it's someone separate than these guys. So that explains, I did call it. I totally called that Beth was gonna get kidnapped. I said it in either one of my videos or in the comments of one of my videos previously when I talked about the picture of Daryl walking down the tracks with this guy Joe. I said there was a leaked picture out, so he does eventually meet up with them, but then we knew that that Beth was not there in that picture, so we all thought it was really weird. And I said it somewhere that I thought she was gonna get kidnapped, so it's very interesting that he joins these guys to kind of get her back, although at the time I thought these guys were gonna be the ones kidnapping her. I don't know, do you guys think that Daryl is gonna find Beth by the end of the season? Do you think she's gonna be the one to die? I think in the promo, which I'll do another video for, but I think in the promo for next week's episode, it seemed as if we saw maybe Beth's hands at a table. Like it looked like her hands were on a table. I don't know. I thought maybe it was a scene for her, like her being tied to a chair or something at a table or something. I don't know, I could be totally wrong. But it doesn't look good for Beth right now. Okay, so let's move on from that. You guys can tell me what you guys all thought about that. And let's talk about Bob and Sasha and Maggie. So the first scene that we see of Bob and Sasha and Maggie is actually just of Bob. And it's a flashback to what he was doing before he joined Rick's group. And it was really interesting to see, you know, he's on his own, barely living, but somehow surviving. And he just looks really run down. He's drinking, and yet he's still somehow surviving and keeping the walkers away. And he almost seems like he's kind of a ghost with the walkers. Not that he doesn't let himself be seen. You see that he has built, you know, a structure where the walker's trying to get him and stuff, and he's just laying there staring at it. So it just seems like, I don't know, it was crazy. Anyways, we see how he came to join Rick's group. And it totally threw me off for a minute. I didn't really know what I was seeing. And then we see Daryl and Glenn get out of the truck and they ask Bob the questions, and Bob joins the group. I don't know why they threw it in here. I think it was important that we know because we were all interested to find out what Bob was doing before. But it's a little ominous that they threw this scene into this episode. I don't know. I don't know what it meant. I feel weird about it, like maybe Bob isn't gonna live very much longer. Anyways, let's get right to it. We saw in the promo the fog, and it is this dense, scary fog. And all three of them are kind of back to back. You can hear the walkers, but you can't see them until they're right on top of you. So you can't run because you could be running right into a herd of walkers. So they're forced to kind of just fight off these walkers, and I totally thought Bob got bit. To me, when I was watching it, it looked like it got him on the side of his arm, but apparently it just bit his bandage, which I feel like is extremely lucky, almost too lucky. I mean, it was just like, really? He's just gonna bite? The zombies are aggressive. And he's only gonna bite like the little piece of bandage that's on his shoulder? I don't know. I thought it was like a too good to be true moment. But I really did think Bob was gonna die. If you saw my reaction video, I was just about to start crying. And I realized that he wasn't actually bit. And it was so great because I actually do like Bob. But we see them sort of moving along, and Maggie is still on her mission to find Glenn, and Sasha is very reluctant to go any further. And Bob is kind of like, yeah, let's go, Maggie. But the whole episodes, you know, so they're camping out, you know, and they're fighting walkers, and one morning they wake up and Maggie is gone, and she's left them a message that she doesn't want them to risk their lives for her. And so she leaves them and she goes off on her own, and there's kind of this situation between the two because Sasha wants to find a place to live, and she doesn't want to. She's scared, I think, that she won't find Tyrese at Terminus. I think that's the reality of it. She doesn't necessarily want to know if he's dead or not. So she's super reluctant to go, and Bob wants to go find Maggie, so they go along together, and it's just, I didn't really like these scenes with them. It just felt like I was annoyed with Sasha, and Bob was just way over positive, and I just didn't really like their interactions. When Bob finally kissed her, it felt so awkward. And then for him to just be like, okay, and leave, and she didn't say anything. I don't know what to take from that. Does he like her? Does she like him at all? I don't know. It felt gross. I don't know. But Bob goes off on his own to find Maggie, and Sasha stays in the first town that they come to, and she goes up into this building, and she's walking around, and she's kind of having a moment of, I don't know, sadness, how she ended up like this. You know, she's lost in her thoughts. She walks to the window, and it freaked me out when she saw Maggie lying there. And it wasn't necessarily that, it all happened so quick that it wasn't necessarily that I thought Maggie was dead right away, but just when she knocked the window out and Maggie just like sat up, I was like, what the hell is she doing lying there? Is she like taking a nap? It didn't register for me that she was hiding from the walkers because there were so many walkers. I just like, I did not get it. And it freaked me out. And then I realized that she was hiding because there were so many walkers around. And Sasha runs down to help her, and there were some really good action scenes of them taking out zombies with a pole and a sign. That scene where Maggie chops the walker's head off with the sign was just really awesome to me. But once they've got all the walkers dead and gone, they are kind of having a moment where Sasha understands where Maggie's coming from, and Maggie tells her that, you know, she thought she could do it on her own, but she does need to ask them to risk their lives because, I don't remember what they said exactly, but, you know, Sasha realized the importance of now finding Bob, because Bob's gone off looking for Maggie and now he's by himself and he's not going to find her if they don't go find her. But also just realizing how important it is to Maggie and that they need each other, and that you can't really live a good life on your own by yourself in this world in this place that the world has now become. And I just thought that was a really good scene. It brought them closer. And then they go and they find Bob and they hug him, and it was just, I loved it. It'll be very interesting to see if everyone actually makes it to Terminus, because now we have seen every group. So at the very end, the last scene, Glenn, I don't know why I'm having trouble with everyone's names today. Glenn sees the sign for Terminus. Now, we don't know if he sees a sign that was written, also sees the sign, you know, that Maggie was leaving for him. I feel as if he was so far away, you guys. I mean, they were 2 hours. Was it 2 hours? How many hours was it? They had driven for a couple hours away, and then to walk back, I don't know. I guess that makes sense. How many hours was it? Was it 2 hours or 4 hours? I don't know. It was far. So would he have made it back that quickly walking? I guess if they walked nonstop, they would. But either way, he sees the sign for Terminus, and so now we have all of our groups. Is it all of our groups? Except Daryl. So far, Daryl seems like he's on the right track. But all of our groups except Daryl and Beth have seen the Terminus signs. But now they're at the train tracks, and Daryl is with these group of bad guys. So either way, they're at the train tracks. Hopefully they'll see it. I just feel bad that if they go there, they're bringing these bad Marauder guys there. Yeah, you guys, that's it, I think, for this review episode of me rambling about Daryl and Beth, mainly. I didn't really devote much time to Maggie, Sasha, and Bob, but I just didn't feel as if the Sasha and Bob conversations really went anywhere for me. It didn't really do anything for me. The only thing that progressed their characters really was seeing Bob's backstory and kind of how he seemed so alone and dejected and depressed, and now that he has these people, he seems all happy all the time. I don't know, I just didn't really like those scenes, although I did like the Maggie and Sasha scene at the end. Okay guys, that's it. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I will see you guys tomorrow with my review of the promos for next week's episode, The Grove. Yikes, I really hope that Mika doesn't get killed. It doesn't look good for her. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. One of the promos was really creepy with, I think, Lizzie running around outside playing Keep Away, I think, from a blocker. Anyways, I'll talk about that more in my promo review. But if you guys enjoyed this at all, or if you are a Bethel fan, give this video a big thumbs up for me if you would. And if it's the first time you guys have watched my videos and you like it, feel free to subscribe because I do these every week. And check out my new channel. Right now it just has a stupid video of me feeding my kid sour gum, but I thought it was kind of funny, and I'll be posting more videos on there soon. The link is in the description. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye!